Alright. Okay, welcome back. I'm Great Grandpa BB. This is my show. Welcome today, my cousin Michael O'Leary. I'm in Galion, Ohio at the old family farm here, and it's bringing back a lot of memories.
I can imagine.
Right? Yeah, and mostly just wanted to talk about baseball today, I guess, you know? Like, we'll jump into a few different things,
We'll
but
bounce around, I'm sure.
yeah. So I wanted to preface, like, the way that I usually think about baseball, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's a
Um,
great place to start.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't follow baseball on TV or anything like that, right?
Neither do
but-
I much, actually. And all the baseball I follow is the stuff that happens right in front of me.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's my favorite, too. That's actually what I was going to say is that, like, I like going to the ballpark, you know?
Yeah.
I like going to the game, like, different games, or, like, but I don't know any of the people at all. But that doesn't seem to, like, hinder my enjoyment of it at all, you know?
No, it makes
Like,
it, I mean, everybody's got a common interest. They're all there for the same reason, kind of. Enjoy the night. Everybody has their different reasons, I guess, to be there, but there's the one common interest, so.
Yeah. The last baseball game I was at, okay? I forget what the park's called. They have a bunch of Civil War reenactments, like
Really?
in up in Cleveland,
Okay.
and they have like a little kind of like a village, like an old style village, like you'd see like turn of the century 1900, trying to look like that, you know.
Sure.
And there's like a whole bunch of kids back there playing like stickball. And it's like they're all wearing like wool, like, you know, like
So they're playing like an
flannels.
old-timey game.
Yeah, everyone's
yeah,
wearing
yeah.
suspenders and like I'm just like I'm sitting in the outfield, you know?
Yeah, like, I'm kind of in the action.
Yeah, yeah. The socks, the color of the socks is kind of like what team you're on, I think, is what they were doing.
Right,
you know?
right. Red and blue.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
basically.
Typically.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's been my favorite ball game that I've seen recently.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. We played some interesting ones this summer. They've been fun to watch. I think we came up on the short side
Yeah.
of a lot of them, but
What
that'll happen.
what is like so you have like you started a baseball team.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like what level or like what category is that considered?
So it's summer collegiate baseball.
Okay.
We're a member of the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate Baseball League.
Okay.
It's college kids who had played in the spring or have been rostered for for the fall. Just trying to get more time, trying to work out, get better.
Okay.
Try to give them a little bit of an experience of what life in baseball would be like moving down the road a little bit. We play 6 days a week, so
Yeah.
it's a grind. It's more baseball than they're used to playing. Being they play mostly weekends, maybe a midweek game and such. So
Okay.
it's,
So they're part of other leagues too, and they're just doing this for
Well-
the summer, or
yeah, they do it for the summer. They're all rostered with college teams, so they play for their college team in the spring, different divisions. I mean,
Okay.
I think we have guys from D1 all the way through JUCO. So
okay.
literally about every level of the collegiate game.
What is that in relation to like what would like the minor leagues be in relation to that?
So minor league baseball is like, as you know, or as it's defined, those are all guys playing professional baseball.
Okay.
They've all moved from the amateur ranks like my guys are in into
Yeah.
getting paid a little bit of money into a lot of bit of money, you know.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I don't know like any of the leagues or like how they're formed. So
you know,
that
it's
was-
funny too. Just in this last year, everything changed. There
Yeah?
used to be,
Huh.
and there still are leagues all throughout the country, ranging from affiliated minor ball to independent leagues that I still work as an umpire.
Yeah.
But they did a big major change in minor league baseball in this last year. Dropped 2 of the lower level leagues and realigned a bunch of leagues, placed towns in different levels of the AAA through single A rookie ball divisions and stuff. So there's been a lot of change.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people playing baseball out there.
There are.
You know?
There are. It always leads to some interesting interactions and running into people like, hey, you been there? It's like, yeah, so
Yeah.
have I, you know. So it's like people, small world. I always say baseball's a big world, man. So
Right.
like you were saying, a lot of people playing baseball. So
Yeah, for real. Yeah, we all grow up doing it. I was in Little League, and that's
Right.
about where my cutoff was. Like,
yeah, that's good. It's part of that.
yeah.
that classic or traditional American
Yeah.
upbringing. You get the little time playing the game.
For sure. We won the championship that year. It was pretty rad. Like,
Always good to bring home a ship. You win the last game of the season, you feel good the rest of the winter. You're like, all right.
It was nice though. We lost the first game of the playoffs, win the losers bracket, won every game after that point. Just
like I said, straight through, win the last one. That's all that matters.
Yup. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. So these flowers back here.
Okay. Yeah. the dwindling lily collection.
Yeah. This is quite a collection of hybrids, right?
They're all mostly all hybrids. I think most lilies nowadays probably are. I gathered them up from a place I used to work for a couple years. Like I was telling you, we would divide them up. Late in the summer after they bloomed.
Okay.
Towards the fall, we divide them up and started to bring home quite a collection of my own. They're still doing okay with the minimal maintenance. Last year, I got more time with them.
Yeah.
Hit them up with the fertilizer. Everything was looking great.
Yeah.
So they're doing okay. They're doing all right.
That's cool. Yeah, this is where Grandpa used to.
This was his potting shed.
Start all the seeds kind of thing.
Yeah, he would start seeds. Man, he'd have them all over the house if you remember.
Yeah.
Little styrofoam cups, on the windowsills. Just. Yep. Definitely learned a love for plants from him, and I have an aunt who lives down in Nashville, runs a landscaping business. I remember she taught me how to plant shrubs at 12, and
yeah.
I don't know, I just got in. I always liked it. I always enjoyed it. So
I don't have much of a green thumb myself. I tried to grow some bamboo this year, and none of it came up.
None happened. Yeah.
I tried 3 different types of ways to start the seeds, and I'm just like, okay, well, and then
do some experimentation. Something might work. Catch on. You learn something.
I know. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'll do something next year again here. I don't know what yet.
I've always tried, but we were talking earlier before we started. Everything I'm doing all collides in that 3 to 4 month time period. And I'm either at the baseball field pulling weeds, or I'll try to be here pulling some, but apparently haven't handled that as well as I'd like.
Well, that's Ohio. Everyone tries to squeeze in every single thing they can in the summertime.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, you're gonna do a festival? Oh, you're gonna do a farmer's market? Oh, you're gonna do
Yeah. I'll be there, maybe.
Oh, there's a barbecue happening. All right. Well,
I'll be there. What day? I can't do it.
Yo, that's us. We need. Who knows? Maybe the weather will change one of these days. In Ohio, it might be just 70 degrees all year round at some point here.
Finally, we had a day without any rain. I think actually we got some this morning, but
yeah.
Being my baseball off day, I slept right through whatever came.
Yeah.
In the AM. So
just gonna slide through this one, actually.
Yeah.
There used to be some vineyards up front. Are those still?
The vine's still there. Little brother Nugget and I worked on them last summer. Not having a baseball season, spent a lot more time out here.
Yeah.
We had them cleaned up pretty good. The vine's still alive, but being that I know very little about vine maintenance,
yeah,
they're there. I'll say that much. So.
That's good. I mean, that's good to hear. Grandpa was always making wine.
Yeah.
The
things that he liked to do, I've tried to keep alive, keep around. I think there's one rose bush around here still. He always loved his roses.
Yeah, I always remember them.
Yep. Try to keep them alive. Try to keep the vine alive. There's a few apple trees still out there, still producing. So.
Yep.
But man, apple trees, that's a lot of maintenance too, man.
Yeah.
That requires a lot of maintenance. I got a little bit better idea how to take care of them, but.
I found some cherry trees in the folks yard in Norwalk there
this
year. Yeah, there was 3, maybe 5 of them I might have found, because I didn't. They were all blooming in June basically. Just tons of cherries.
Like the actual fruit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they weren't like huge like you'd find in a grocery store. They were about half size probably.
Yeah, you gotta cultivate them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And they've lived there for 20 years and never knew those trees were there.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I was like, hey, are these? And they're like, don't eat those. And I was like, I don't know.
I might try one.
Yeah,
maybe I already have.
I made sure to I looked it up and looked up
Yeah,
the leaves, and the bark of the
Okay,
tree, and
okay.
I was like, they look identical to cherries.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure,
This is a
man.
cherry.
Yeah, yeah.
And I ate a ton of them over last month there.
Very good, very cool, very cool.
But yeah, it's so weird that I don't know. I guess just people are just completely not focused on nature and their surroundings so much anymore, and
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that, when I moved home, part of my idea was to kind of get into that a little bit more too, try to come back out here to the farm and get things going, maybe get the gardens going again, and I've tried.
Yeah,
So many
yeah.
damn deer, man.
Oh yeah.
Deer
yeah.
come in here and eat everything. I had a beautiful tulip collection at one time.
Oh wow.
All gone.
Wow.
Deer ate them all. I think I got all the bulbs from the same place I got the lilies.
Yeah.
But I think I planted 1,000 of them one spring.
Okay.
Okay, Mom, doing good.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't last long, man. The deer love those things, I guess. Just munched them all down to
Shoot.
nothing, man.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
it. You just found their favorite food all of a sudden.
Yeah, apparently everything that I like, they do too. So.
Yeah, that'll help you in the hunting season, I guess.
I guess so. If I can
just
ever figure out how to do that.
Right. Just sell them to hunters, right?
I've talked to a couple guys. They're like, "What? You got some acreage? You wanna let me hunt that?" I'm like, We'll talk.
Man, I'm always on the trails, running,
Okay.
Norwalk there, and there's always a deer and their kid, Bambi or whatever, out there on the trail. And I'm like, man, if I get too close to these guys, some buck is just gonna
Out
ram
of
me in
nowhere,
the side,
right.
yeah. So I'm always kind of keeping a wide eye for that, hey, get out of here, go. I just
Yes,
need to
go away. You're cute as shit. Keep moving.
yeah, I'm not bothering anyone
Yeah.
here.
Trying to do my thing, guy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so disconnected. I don't know if that's a thing or not, I don't know if
Yeah, I don't
being
know how.
how docile they are or how much they would attack, considering their kid's in danger, or if they care about their kid at all,
That's
I
a
don't.
good point. I think they, motherly instinct, probably a little.
I never see any bucks, man, around
Yeah.
there. There's always there's tons of does in the city there.
There was one big dog out here for a little while.
Oh,
I'd
yeah?
see him once in a while, but
Yeah.
leading to somebody that's got a better chance than me, probably. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they could actually maybe get a shot off and not hurt the thing,
Yeah.
So,
Dang. Yeah, so we were speaking recently, and you were talking about umpiring.
yeah.
Strike zones all changing, and you were talking about wanting to get on the road, and
Yeah. So when I was in my 20s, I had a pretty awesome 7, 8 years where I traveled, umpire professional baseball, both affiliated and a lot of indie ball, and
Yeah.
some summer collegiate like I do now. Worked a couple of the more prominent summer collegiates in the country, the Northwoods League and the Coastal Plains. So did that for a long time. Had an amazing experience. Got to see a lot of, like you were saying earlier, it's those cool, those small town vibes, those cool
Yeah.
little shows that are put on in a
Nice.
in a small town every
Oh,
night.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you go to I'm trying to think of some of all these towns I've been to, but you go through there and that. I mean, that's the biggest show in town that night.
Yeah,
They might
yeah.
play 40, 50 home games, and I mean that's what's happening in that
Yeah.
town that night. And a lot of those places, the people come out, they enjoy the show. It's a cool environment. I was always felt real lucky to be a part of it and just get to experience that. And
Yeah.
so that's, when I moved home, when I decided to come off the road, that's kind of, I always had that little fantasy in the back of my head. Maybe I could bring something like that to my hometown that I love and
Okay.
show them
Yeah.
what I'd been doing. And
Yeah,
and
so the ball game is kind of the community coming together.
yeah,
And
yeah. And we've had great support from the community, both financially and through just people coming out to the park and enjoying the games. And
Yeah.
like I said, I think some nights more than others we've been able to put on a show and really like I was saying, kind of share that little bit of that experience that I had with the people that I love in this town. And
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of just bring that vibe around, sometimes better than others, of course, but it's
Well, a town has to have some kind of a center driving force, I think, too, or like some kind of a center organizing, you know, a beacon, or
yeah,
I always look at it through the lens of music, obviously, like, because I'm
right,
constantly just putting
yeah.
on shows, and like I'm like walking through the town the other night. I'm like, why isn't there just a giant show happening every night in this town? Like.
Yeah, and that's what, like I said, you
Um,
do it 6 days a week at the ballpark.
yeah.
You
Oh,
kind of
damn.
do that, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's more of a show. Of course,
Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday nights are a bigger pull, but
I remember singing out there. One of them.
that's right. I love that. I love that memory.
Yeah.
I think we had our cousin Aaron Bales did one too one
Oh,
night.
nice.
Did take me out to the ball game.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that on the old Facebook every couple years or so. But
Yeah, that's a good time.
it's fun, man. Like, that's the idea. You get people involved and
Yeah.
just try to, like you were saying, like have a little beacon, have something going on. There's a lot of people in the community doing different stuff. We have a really cool theater group here in
Okay.
Galion, like
Live.
stage performances,
Yeah.
live stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a great job doing their stuff.
That's great. Yeah.
There's some other people, different, like Chamber of Commerce tries to put on some those like Friday night type of things, stuff like
Yeah.
that. A lot of people trying to do cool stuff in Galion over the last few years. Kind of feel like we've been a part of that a little bit, just trying to get a vibe going, trying to get something going, to make the town a bit of an attraction. You got to have that stuff if you want.
Yeah.
If you want the town to grow or to not waste away like we've seen so much through the Rust
Right.
Belt, through where
Right.
we're from, like.
It's nice. I mean, if the people in the town can talk to each other,
Right. Yeah.
then like bonds can be had, and you feel connected to the place more, and you don't want to leave. You don't want to
leave, and maybe somehow you got some cool stuff like that going.
Yeah.
If there's an opportunity to bring in an employer, they
Yeah.
can see stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, man, you got a little something's happening around this town. There's
Yeah.
there's a reason why I might want to bring my people here.
Yeah.
And that's
definitely.
always been part of the thought process with some of the guys that helped me get it started early on. They were
Yeah.
like influential, like businessmen doing stuff like that, and I know that was kind of
Okay.
part of the thought,
Yeah.
more so than just baseball, but of course,
Right.
showing
Right.
little dudes that you could do this too, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
That was always a big drive for me.
Yeah.
Was showing that young kid like, hey man,
It isn't
it's
that
just
hard.
here.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
but,
okay,
but it's
okay.
here.
Yeah,
It's here, and if you
it's-
want to do it, it
it's
is
fun.
a possibility,
Yeah,
man.
it's a lot of fun.
possibility.
Yeah. That's cool. Just opening doors up, finding the possibilities and
Trying to inspire somebody a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah. The world's a lot bigger than just like on your computer screen or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because I think a lot of people see that and they're like, well, that's how big the world is. It's right here. I can go anywhere on this screen,
Yeah.
And in a sense, you can, and that's,
It's cool.
it is,
But-
I mean, that's what we're doing right here, in a
Yeah.
sense, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
But it's also an excuse for me to come out here to the farm,
Sure.
and have a good
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah,
Like,
enjoy the outdoors a little bit.
yeah, for
Listen to
sure.
the birds, a creaky old door.
Travel, a little ways out of my town. I've been in
Right.
that town too long.
I hear that story, man. I hear that story. I think that's what I saw you a couple weeks ago. We were talking about that a lot, man.
Yep,
Just
yep.
been around town for a while. Like you were saying, maybe time to get back out there on the road,
Yeah.
get back to umpiring.
Yeah.
It's always been. Heck, man, I started doing it when I was 14. I think I probably thought about doing it before that,
Yeah. I just wanted to double check that.
Gotcha, no problem. But
Yeah, it's that's kind of the impetus of this show in a lot of ways too. I'm calling it Grandpa's Travelogue just because
Cool.
like I was like, hey, like if I can like go somewhere or somebody wants me to travel to them to interview them, like I will book shows at your place and play that and then do the interview and like,
heck, man, we
whatever.
should have done her down at the ballpark then, maybe.
All right.
The boys are in a. We have a short respite for an all-star game tomorrow, and then a day off after that, and then we.
Are they down there right now, or?
No, I think all the boys traveled home for a few days to rest up. I got to try to pull them all back together for that last few, man. We got 4 games in 3 days. We got to
hold it together.
Hold together, wrap up the season, man. So,
yeah.
So that'll be my work the next couple days.
Damn. Yeah. They don't have any like contracts or anything, probably holding them there.
They sign a contract, but it's
right. Yeah.
It's loose. It's loose. I'll just say that. So.
College intern for free interns, free work for college credit kind of thing.
Like, I think I got my work in for the year, Mike. Body's feeling it a little bit. Like I was saying, like 6 days a week's more than they're used to. So.
That's why they call it the baseball body, right? Like you're on the road, like playing 100 games a season or whatever.
Yeah. When I worked pro ball, it was nothing less than about 100 a year. So
that's wild. Yeah.
It's an ordeal.
Yeah.
Test your mettle a little bit.
Yeah.
Both mentally and physically, man.
What was it? Cal Ripken Jr. was the Iron Man?
Yeah. What I can't even remember the record now.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Cool experiment. Remember it, though. Young man.
I remember all the baseball players from like the late 80s and early 90s. Like that was my like.
Me too. I know those. I know the guys through the 90s way better than past and now. Because that's, like I was saying, that's when I kind of started getting into it. And heck, man, I could talk about dozens and dozens of guys who played, low-level ball, indie ball.
Oh, wow.
Saw a guy on last Thursday.
Yeah.
Wednesday. I was working up in Avon at the Crushers game, and guy coaching first base. I was working first base, and he kept scoreboard's back behind me, so everybody glances to just kind of keep your mind on strikes and the pitch count and how many outs you have. And he glanced back at me in about the third inning, and I was like, I know that facial structure. I know that guy. So I stood there for about 3 more innings trying to figure out who he was. Eventually, I said something to the guys in the bullpen. I'm like, what's his name, man?
Yeah,
They told me. I was like, not the name I remember, but I know that guy, man. So we talked about him a little more. It's like, I ran into that dude in El Paso and Lincoln, Nebraska. Hey, you get around. So.
I always do that, just not even with people that I know, but like people that like look like people that I know.
Sure.
I was down in Carolina at like a psychedelic blues show the other day, and I'm like pointing out people. I'm like, oh, this guy is like from Kill the Hippies. This guy over here is from this band that I know, and like, like just because they had this exact same
I know that.
feeling,
I know that game.
Of a person.
We used to play that. That was an old bar game. We played the celebrity. The celebrity game. You would say a celebrity's name, and then if the guy could pick him out at the bar, then you bought. So, that was always a fun one.
Yeah, that's pretty classic. Yeah, I don't know. The older I get, the more I just keep seeing the same people. Like, I'm like convinced that there's only like 144 people, and like
it's like 160 faces out there, and you got one. You got one of them.
You got
man.
one of them.
So
like,
I know that story. For me, this year it was conversations.
Okay.
I kept hearing the same conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I've listened to
You're right.
these 20-year-old college guys have this same conversation for 7 years now,
20-year-old college baseball players all seem to talk about the same thing.
They got about 3 things on their mind. So
you can't guess what they are either.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we can all figure them out. But yeah, it was fun, and then we'd get into everybody always wants to tell war stories, and then you got those long van rides, bus rides, and guys always want to hear a war story or hey Mike, did you ever this ever come up? How many guys you thrown out? I'm like, oh, dude, you quit counting after a while, guy.
Yeah.
So
I had to punch this guy right in the mouth.
No. Not on the ball field, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Not my job. My job was trying to stop them from doing that a lot of nights.
Yeah.
Which everybody loves to hear about the fight stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm not exactly the biggest dude in the world. You ever stood in the middle of 60, 6-foot-tall dudes trying to kick each other's ass? Like,
right,
that ain't fun, man. Sitting in the stands watching it, you're hooting and hollering, but I'm like
You dodging one way, falling right into a fist over
Yeah,
here.
you just peel out after a while. You just, I'm
Yeah.
out. You want to kick each other's asses? Go ahead, man. Keep a track of who landed the best punches.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, always best try to keep it above board. We're above the ground still. Let's see, like, just keep things cool and keep things rolling.
Yeah, every day on the dirt's a good day.
Right.
So,
I remember, I just keep looking over here and, like, remembering, like, the old, like, wiffle ball, like.
right over here?
Yeah.
A lot of wiffle ball games, man.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of wiffle ball games.
Just, like, Easter, Thanksgiving, like, every single holiday that there was.
Yeah.
We weren't smashing cars back over here. We were.
That's a memory.
Yeah,
That's a memory.
that was probably my bad.
Oh, I think we were all guilty that day.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, I thought that car was trash. It was
Yeah, I
behind the
didn't-
garage. Like, there was weeds all over around it. I
Been
don't
there
know.
forever. I thought we were done with that.
I'm like 8 years old, something. Who knows, man?
That was wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say we weren't naughty kids.
Right. Gotta do a few scraps here and there.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Uh,
Part of growing up, man. Part
right.
of the experience.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm just lucky that I got to be outside a lot. We had some woods. You guys had some woods.
yeah,
out
we had
behind
the
your
woods by
place.
my folks. And
Hell yeah.
We'd come out here. I remember being a kid thinking this was a million miles away.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm like literally like my property line's the city limit. Like
Yeah, exactly.
not very far at all, bud. So,
Yeah, your whole perception on things change. I remember I lived in Norwalk when I was younger, like in like I was like first, second grade living there, and then I moved in second grade down to West Liberty for 4
right.
years, and then by the time I moved back, I learned how to read, and the signs were like all the signs in the entire town were symbols to me. You know?
oh, okay.
And then when I
I see.
came back, it was like, oh shit, like this is like I didn't think that this. I thought that was like a Chef Boyardee advertisement,
Yeah, okay.
but it was tires, or
Right,
something like
right,
that.
right.
And it was so
Interesting.
weird, like how familiar but how incredibly different everything was.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
you just like you're saying, you learn how to read, and then the information's actually there
Yeah.
for you to take in. It's not a symbol anymore. There's a message.
Yeah, you can't see the thing unless you're looking for it, almost.
Sure.
That's something that is happening nonstop all the time. I think forest for the trees. Right?
Yeah, Forest of the Trees, indeed. So
I'm trying to think of a good example right now, but just off the top of my head, it's super weird to me how people are just like kind of moving through life without like knowing where they're going at all. Like they just kind of like adhere to the culture or the stories that
Yeah.
they're presented with without really thinking about them at all. Which I understand in one aspect, there's not like a lot of time to like reinvent your whole story of the world every day, so you just like, you're like, oh yeah, that's the story they told me, and like, I remember that, and that's, it feels comfortable to believe it, and it doesn't take any time to believe it, so I'm just gonna believe it and just kind of like hang my hat on it and be like, okay, and then I'm just gonna live my own life how I want to after that point or whatever.
yeah, I think we all fall victim to that or guilty of that at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
I've definitely tried to. I know with the baseball thing, that's not what I did all those years isn't a totally typical life.
Yeah.
Like I was, I
Yeah.
actively tried. While it's a very, I guess maybe ordinary American story, but quintessential Americana baseball stuff. It was, it wasn't normal. I know. I knew what I was doing wasn't normal, and I embraced that, and I liked it.
Yeah.
I really, really like kind of even to a fault some nights, kind of maybe try to push the envelope a little bit to see how different of a life I could live.
Yeah, definitely.
Got me in trouble plenty of times, but also also created all those good stories
Been there a
everybody
few
wants
times.
to hear.
Yeah.
So. But that's that was to me that that was what it was about. You get out there, you experience that stuff, you live life, you bounce around the country.
Yeah.
See
What
different
is
cool
it?
stuff.
What is it really? You know, like
Yeah, man. I remember a lot of guys I'd work with. They'd go through their whole summer kind of sad sack. Oh, I gotta be here again. I hate this place. I hate that. Oh, this sucks. And it's like, man, have you looked around a little bit?
Right.
Have you stepped outside the hotel room? Have you?
Yeah, what
you
about
done
over
anything,
here, man?
Yeah, have you done anything other than go to the ballpark? You know, like there's
Yeah.
something cool everywhere you go, and
Yeah.
trying to find
Yeah.
that, man. That's what I was about. Just whether
Yeah.
it was doing some, historical thing or
Yeah. Yeah.
finding a cool restaurant, whatever. Like, go do that stuff, man.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
every
Try to
time-
talk to somebody you don't know.
talk
you
to
know?
strangers.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the cool part about going. Like, you go to some, tourist trap, whatever they might say it is. Well, whatever. At least the experience, you saw it. You talked to somebody. You got a little,
Yeah. Yeah.
little bit of an experience. So.
Yeah, yeah, that's the adventure. You're making new friends, you're meeting new people, like seeing the world through somebody else's eyes, and like you know,
Yeah, man.
yeah. I'm glad that you brought it up in that aspect too. You know, like because it's sometimes when you feel
Beautiful
like
blue heron right there.
Oh, yeah?
Swinging by. Yeah, I think there he goes. Sorry.
oh yeah,
Did you see him?
Yeah, dude.
Down there, they did drainage ditch. The
Dang.
farm's kind of surrounded by drainage ditches, like lots of farms. So.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get some photos of this place
Sure.
here before I leave, and just kind of like splice them into this thing
Cool,
too, you
cool.
know. But yeah, I kind of forgot what I was saying.
we
there
were
for a
talking
minute.
about
Yeah.
scratching the surface, as I always said. You know, you got to
Okay.
scratch the surface a little bit, see what's out there in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess it's just when you're doing something, it feels like everybody's doing it, you know, in a way.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
But they're really not, you know. Like there's like only a small fraction of people who have ever really done this, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think about that with this podcast. Like even people are, you know, talk about it a lot. They're like, "Oh, everyone has a podcast right now," or something.
Right,
It's like,
right,
I don't
right.
know anybody who has a podcast, you know. Like
Firsthand, personally,
Yeah.
this is the first one I've done.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Exactly. You know.
But yeah, like you were saying, I've had plenty
Yeah.
of people tell me to do one, but we've never done it. So I think we got an intruder.
Yeah. We got a special guest appearance
Special
here.
guest appearance by the mayor.
Yeah. It's got had the mayor of Galion stop by here real
Yeah.
quick for the podcast.
Check on his adult son, make sure he's taking care of all of his duties, and
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have no kids, man. I have no worries.
Ugh.
Like,
you know, I always wanted to be a dad, but
yeah,
further
I've
than-
thought about it a few times, you
Alright.
know, and then
you get further down the road and you start realizing, well, maybe that gypsy life was
yeah, maybe that was
just right for old Mike.
yeah, just kind of skipping across the surface here.
Oh,
We'll
man.
just stay on this trajectory for a little longer.
Yeah,
maybe
why
here.
not? Why not? You know. So.
See where it goes. Like I like we were talking about this the other day though, just kind of like being like just doing something so long that you accidentally become like kind of like a guru or like a master at like the field or something, you know, like
Yeah.
you know the debate, or not the bases necessarily to be too literal, but you know kind of like where things are gonna fall, you know, and like almost like what time they're gonna fall at, you know.
For sure. Yeah, you spend. I guess I've been around baseball at somewhat high level now for about 16 years, and
Right.
you start to get a pretty good vibe for just how things are going to go down through a season. There's always a wrench gets thrown in, or injuries, unfortunately, or a
Yeah.
reality of the game. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've learned everything literally from the dirt that we play on up through the lights on the field.
Right.
Literally, I've learned. You can't ever say everything. Can't ever say that, especially about baseball. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
got a little bit of base knowledge, and
Mhm.
literally everything from the dirt on the field up through, what the guys are wearing, to the hat, to the lights, keeping
Yeah.
the spectacle going. So it's
I think any kind of like I don't know, pursuit that you do for any kind of given a time, like becomes like your own metaphor for life in a way,
No doubt.
I've always had the feeling that like if you figure out like one thing really well too, you can kind of apply a lot of that same knowledge to like pretty much any other field, because they all have their own kind of same rhythms, I think,
Yeah. Sometimes I get nervous or worried that I'm like maybe over applying, or that
Mm-hmm.
my my vision's too narrow. Like I try to
Okay.
apply, like everything I learned is from a too narrow of a
Yeah.
perspective. So I try not to do it all the time, but yeah, there's a lot of life lessons in baseball
Yeah.
that can teach you to just how to handle different things in your life, whether sometimes good, sometimes bad. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
there's one that I always hold on to, that it's just really it's like a golden rule in umpiring, but it goes like this: it's common sense, fair play.
Okay. Okay.
And I can't tell you how many times in my life when I've used that off the baseball field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just common sense, fair play. What's the right way to handle the situation? What's the right way to do this?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess it's like the old Christian golden rule.
You're
Treat
like
others
checking
how-
yourself, at
It's
the
a
door.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
check. It's also treat people how you'd want to be treated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that rings in every philosophy,
Oh, yeah.
for millennia.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's just empathy. It's like being aware that there's other people. I know that's like one of the main philosophical questions is like, are you the only person here? Like this is the only person that I'm experiencing being here. So this is the only person that I know for sure who's actually here, right? Some people try to grapple with that. Some people just like are automatically empathetic and just like, just take care of everyone else but themselves. Like.
yeah, I mean, I find myself in that place a lot. Like I'm always,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the baseball season, I got 30, 35 people
Yeah.
that I got to worry about every single day.
Damn.
Worry about their needs, what they're gonna need to play that day, where they're gonna be. Are they gonna be with us?
Yeah.
Are they gonna be
Yeah.
resting that day? How to get them fed lunch? How to get them fed dinner? How to get them, take care of their basic needs so they can play ball.
You're like the almost like the player manager of sorts.
Yeah,
Like
that's been my role. Make sure that the game goes off and everybody can. Sometimes of course, like anything in life, some days you do it better than others.
you don't coach as well, right? Or like.
Over the years, I've worn a lot of hats. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah, I feel that.
I've coached. I've been on and off the field.
Okay.
This year's been particularly interesting because I kind of decided to take the reins as the head guy. I got guys in that I trusted to help coach the team, and I kind of I let them coach the individual aspects of the game, but as far as putting the lineup together, worked with the coaching staff every day to have the right guys on the field, have the pitching staff we needed there that day, sometimes better than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's been a really interesting spring for me because like you're saying, kind of started getting back into umpiring a little bit.
Yeah.
So literally, like I'd be umpiring a pro baseball game on Thursday,
Yeah.
and wearing a baseball uniform on Friday, trying not to bark at the guy behind the plate because hell, I was there last night and I know what it's like, man. So that's been difficult, along with you got to stick up for your guys, but
Yeah.
that dude back there behind the plate, I worked with him this spring. I know that guy.
Yeah.
He's a colleague of mine. We're friends.
Yeah.
Not gonna get in his ass, but
Right.
sometimes you gotta ask the right question to make
Yeah.
sure the boys know you got their back. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been an interesting spring. It's been fun.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's what
Eye-opening.
it's about, Like, just it's a lot of work, but in the end, it's like those guys are gonna remember this for their whole life too.
Yeah, I mean,
You're-
I remember every season I've been a part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember where you were, who you played for, who you worked for, who you worked with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It amazes me sometimes. Like, oh yeah, 2008 here with this guy in El Paso, and this happened. You're like,
Yeah. Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
You
it
don't
is. There's the story.
You don't realize like who you're affecting and how that's affecting those people, and later, and those people are affecting a whole other group of people along down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we're all just like kind of keeping each other like steady or stable in a way.
Yeah, it's, man, I've been on both ends of the being in charge and being the low guy in the totem pole too, and being the dude who's being taught and the guy teaching lessons, and it's both. Heck, I've been there. I've been in both of those positions this spring, and I enjoy them both still.
Yeah.
I love learning about baseball, talking about baseball, teaching people about baseball. It's just, it's just has always been a stable part of my life, something that has kept me.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I wasn't doing it, I didn't feel right,
Yeah.
something wasn't right
Yeah.
about me, and
Yeah.
when I've been involved, I've felt more complete, I guess you might say.
It's pretty amazing how when you first start something, like you feel like it's like an established thing that you're trying to get into,
Mhm.
and then after you're in it for so long, you're like running it, and you're like,
Yeah.
this isn't established at all.
Shit's wide open.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
People are just doing things and keeping it alive the way they think that it should be.
The way they think they should, or the way they can, the way that works.
Yeah.
That's when, after my time umpiring, starting the team, and kind of seeing how, I guess I experienced it a little bit umpiring too, but like really seeing how every organization, every club runs their show, puts their show on, pays for it, like eye-opening experience.
Vendors, announcing, like radio, like
all of those.
Yeah.
Heck, becoming a vendor myself. The shirt I'm wearing. I started printing them.
Oh yeah.
Started making them a few years ago, like you've been doing for years.
Sure, for sure.
Literally because
necessity, right?
Part necessity and part like, heck, I know how I want it to look. Why don't I just do it, man?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
So we, brother and I started doing it. It's been an experience. It's been cool to learn in it like another trade or something, So
Yeah.
keeps me kind of in the art realm that I always liked as a young person when I wasn't, doing baseball or messing with flowers and stuff.
I'm always putting on shows, man. Like the way that you say it, you're like, oh well, how they run their show,
That's what it is,
I'm like,
man.
I played this place in Black Mountain in Carolina a couple times in the last 5 years, and like the first time I was there, the owner was there, and he was telling me this whole story about. He's like, man, when I was down in Cincinnati and Jimi Hendrix played in town that night, and we were the bigger band, so he came to us to party afterwards, and like just jam with us all night, and like we came here and we started this venue, and I was like, man, that's pretty rad, and then I saw him just like last week, and I was like, hey man, like I remember you, like I was here before and you were telling me all about Jimi Hendrix. He's like, well, fuck you, man, like I guess you know all about me, I'm just gonna leave. I'm like, whoa, okay, sorry
man. I didn't mean to step on your dick there.
Yeah, I know. But he came back later, and he was like, I think he was just like, he's like, hey, thanks for coming out, man.
Had a couple beers now. I'm chill.
I love just like the straight up like reactionary, like no holds bar.
I know that. I've been there. I've done
transparency, like I can see inside your head right now, man, and it's hilarious to me.
Dang, that makes me wonder how I've treated some guys. Definitely barked at a few people this summer.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to the point,
Yes.
Tempers flare. Sometimes it's just overload, man.
Oh, especially in such a masculine world that you might say baseball.
Right. Yeah,
definitely. Like dudes doing dude stuff. Like, yeah, tempers flare. Everybody, it becomes a pissing match.
Yeah.
Regularly, you might say. So.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's sometimes that's the fun of it.
And it's like a competition, too.
Oh, yeah, straight up.
I mean, like,
somebody's going to win and lose this game.
Purposely, like, you're pitting each other against each other, Yeah,
it's a show. You put the show on every night. The people are going to show up, and they want to see a game. They want to be entertained, but on the other side of it, like, somebody's going to win this game. Somebody's going to lose this game. Somebody's going to go home feeling shitty. Somebody's going to be on cloud nine. So it's...
I used to look at music just like that, though, too, because I would go to shows and I'd be like, man, we killed those guys tonight, Like, or, whatever it happened to be. That was my lens, though. It was a very competitive lens when it came.
I like how you said that, the lens. The lens you see things through. Yeah, that's 100% true.
I mean, you could go to a baseball game and, like, view it as not a competition. You're just like, I'm just out there, I'm playing, I'm having fun with it. I'm knocking a few, getting on base here and there.
Right.
If we win, we win. Like, that's how it is, Like, but really, you don't even have to have the competitive aspect in your own, like, lens of the game, I think. And I think that some people might even play better
Some
because
guys
of
definitely
that.
do. Some guys definitely do. I was talking to one of my players the other night, and he's like, I mentioned something about your opponent. Like,
Yeah.
Explicit, your opponent.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean my opponent? That guy's not my opponent. I'm playing against myself. I'm like,
yeah.
We talked a little bit more, and I'm like, all right, you're playing that game 5 inches between your ears. I see where you're at. All right.
I don't know if you know how healthy that is.
Yeah, for real. Very intelligent kid. Very good ball player, and he had a good perspective on that.
That's cool. That's especially if you have that, like, naturally, like, and you don't even realize that you're doing it, you know, in a way. I mean, like, our entire economy is based off the principle of, like, dog eat dog.
Yeah, competition.
Yep. What's in the marketplace? If you fail, that's you're a loser and you have to, like, be homeless now or whatever.
It's tough,
like,
it's tough.
It's wild. It's really wild. I mean, that's a whole another topic, though, too.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the same topic in a sense. I
mean, it's what we're talking about, and we're talking about that. It's a competition.
I mean, there's a book I read once, Siddhartha. It was called. Herman Hesse wrote it, and it was all about, like, this guy who was, like, trying to become a monk, basically, like, through the whole beginning of the book. Like, he would just, like, he was basically a vagrant beggar who lived in the woods with other monks, and they would meditate all day, and then they would come down to the town and beg for rice, okay? And so they were trying to, like, get rid of their desire and their worldly attachments until, like, he ends up, like, later in the story, he comes to this town and falls in love with this woman, and then, but he still didn't have attachments at that point, It's, and
I can
so...
understand.
Yeah. And so it was very much like this, man, I'm surprised I haven't even talked about this on the podcast before yet, but this is one of my favorite stories ever.
Oh, cool.
Because the way that he talked about, like, this woman and how he was just like, I was just doing it because that was, like, in my heart to do at the time. And then, like, but then once it became more real and he had this job, he worked for, like, her father, and he was, like, in business at first, he didn't care at all about any of it, and so he was able to just, like, make deals with anybody because he'd be like, it's like, oh, well, this is the price. He's like, okay, cool.
That's the price.
Yeah,
we'll pay it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just, like, one of those things where, and, like, I feel like this is, like, kind of the conversation is, like, if you don't care about competition at all, or if you don't have any skin in the game mentally, or, like, you're not thinking about it that way, you can just play it off lightly, and people will be like, whoa, this guy is, like, something else. Like, he has, like, some kind of upper hand on this game that I don't see yet, or whatever. And it's really, he just doesn't care, And, but then, like, in the story later, he starts caring. He has this, and starts, like, becoming this, like, begrudging, like, guy trying to make real.
What makes him start caring?
I think just being in the marketplace too long kind of made him jaded, I think.
Sure.
being up against all these people and, being screwed over a few times, I'm sure, like how things run, and then so he ended up just leaving like just his entire life and being like this, just jumping on the river and like
back to being a vagrant.
Basically, yeah.
Dang, this sounds like going back on the road to umpire.
Right. So yeah, all
right, I'm done. See you, everybody. Good luck.
I'm feeling it right now too, man.
Dude,
like,
that's.
I'm like, you guys can run the festival without me, man. It's cool. Like,
that's be... like I was saying. I know I've said it to you. There's some people interested in the ball team. All right, y'all got it.
Yeah, pick it up, man.
I'm gonna go umpire, man. Yeah. I like it. I'm good at it.
Yeah, right.
I work 3 or 4 hours a day. Half of that I'm changing clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want that to come across the wrong way. I'm not quitting or checking out on anything, but
right.
Just in the last year or so, and we've talked about it, I think a lot of people have had to evaluate their situations, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And
yeah.
I did, just like everyone else, I did the same thing, and I had a few things happen this last winter and spring that it's kind of pointed me back in that path, in that direction, and it made me think about what I love to do, what I feel like I do best, and all those things were umpiring, man.
Yeah.
It was like I tried some other stuff, and I'm not saying I failed at it, or I'm not saying that they didn't go well, not as well as I'd hoped, on a lot of levels, but
yeah.
You get to that point, it's like, what do you do best? What what should you be doing?
Yeah.
Everything pointed to being back on the road, get back into umpiring. So I'm happy to be doing that again. Happy to be working with guys, talking about umpiring, doing that. It really, this spring was like, it was exciting for me to work. Now I went from being a younger guy, now I'm like one of the middle of the pack age wise.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm helping teach younger dudes, and even sometimes the older guys that are less experienced, like just saying, hey, have you ever tried this, or anybody ever told you this? And you see them try it, and it's like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I've seen this unfold a few different ways already.
And that's just, I had that really cool opportunity through my 20s to experience all that, work with a lot of very talented, experienced, well-educated, well-trained umpires that taught me a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And being able to do that again, talk to them about that is just...
Yeah, that's rad,
Yeah, it really feels good.
If it clicks it back in, and like, you like that path just like makes sense,
It makes sense, and it's like, I want to do it again, and realizing that it's been a while, and I'm not working as often as I'm not working as often as I should to be as good as I want to be. So it's like, dude, you just realize, like, I gotta be out there every day.
Yeah,
I gotta be out doing it every day, just like a musician,
Yeah, definitely.
You put the guitar down for a couple weeks, you pick it back up, you're not gonna be as sharp, right?
No, nope.
So that's the same place I'm at, and I really want to get, to that point. I'm working every day.
Keep the chops up.
Exactly. So the chops. That's what you got.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too, man. I want to, like, I've never really hit the road before, in a large way. Like, I've traveled a little bit, but I've always, like, I've never really made like an official like tour where like I booked a bunch of shows in a row and played them all or anything like that. So I'm like, that's where my whole headspace is at right now. And then with this podcast, I'm like, all right, well, how about this? Like, I'll just, every place I go, I'm going to meet somebody.
It's cool. It's a cool idea, man. It's a really cool idea. It's a really pretty neat way to like you said, to log that time you spent with it. Man, I wish I had written a little bit more stuff down, kept a log of something of all those,
and that's
hundreds of baseball games.
That's the other thing too, man. Like, I write all the time, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be like strapped down writing about stuff just to remember it later. Like,
I
can
feeling
just
like you're obligated to do it.
this
is a cool medium.
Yeah, it's just so immediate, and it's just like, I mean, the whole art form of conversation in itself, you know, like, I've always called it an art form, you know, because you can just like the way that this conversation is run has been like this, like kind of like winding, like, like I'm like, okay, baseball, okay, flowers,
Yeah.
okay, back to baseball.
How do we get back to baseball? Yeah. I hear you.
And then like kind of like going into the weeds of life, and I knew that I was hoping that would like fall back into baseball too, and I knew it would, or you know, I was hoping it would, I guess, you know.
Well, I mean, like you were saying, you draw all your experiences in life from the things you do. So as you're talking about a conversation of life, it's gonna get back to those experiences you've had and how they've shaped your perspective of life, and how you kind of try to do your thing and live it. And
and like from my end, I'm like, how can I be a blank slate and just like lay out some like
as an interviewer, I suppose, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I talk enough on this thing for myself anyway, because I'm always going to say something regardless.
Yeah, it's your show, baby.
I pour a cup of coffee, I'm going to be talking. Like,
that's what I should have grabbed a cup of coffee on my way out.
This is my boon, man. I did one without coffee last week, and I was really out of sorts. I was like, okay, how do I do this? And like, I was just like a little bit behind where I normally am, you know, and maybe that was a good thing, maybe not. Sometimes I don't watch them after I do it, you know, but like sometimes I do, and I'm like, oh man, like I was a little bit like cutting him off right there, and like, or something, you know, like. And
I get it. People, I've watched plenty of baseball games of myself. Yeah. And there's also been times when it was like, I don't need to see that again.
Right.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I knew I was horse shit. I know why.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it.
Yeah. Whereas last night I was editing down one, and I watched like an hour of it, and I'm like, this is solid. Like this was really like both sides was, you know, like we're hitting like on par, and like it was first it was a lady in our area up in Sandusky there who has been teaching yoga and has been teaching kind of like kindergarten or some kind of like, you know, kids in just regular school.
Little dudes.
But she's always been kind of like this like spiritual kind of teacher, just encouraging people to be themselves and to like meditate and to do things just online kind of, you know. But she's always been a close friend of mine, just through a group of people that I'm in too, you know. And so, like, that, I knew exactly what the conversation would be before I got there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And,
you can expect a pretty quality cast then from that. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just like, because at times she was a little bit confused about why, like, she's like, well, what do you want a podcast about? I'm like, I don't know, education? But then when I got there, it was like entirely like.
We know how this is gonna go. We know what we want to talk about.
I know, so. Yeah, exactly. Like we always have this conversation, like.
We just haven't recorded it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well.
I was thinking about in a similar light the conversation we had a week or two ago. It's like, man, I would probably should have just recorded that and played it, you know. So. We've been able to hit a lot of the subject matter.
Yeah, and in a way, like the way that we both live our lives is parallel in a lot of ways too.
I agree,
and that's why I think that I wanted to interview you too. You know, just for the fact, I think, you know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I always all those years traveling and stuff, some of the people that I felt like I understood their lifestyle a lot were the people I would see playing in the bars and stuff.
Yeah.
I like, you know, a little anecdote or a story. I remember being in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was working on the field, and it just kind of clicked to me one day. When I'm going to work, everybody else is getting off work.
Yeah.
And they're coming to watch us work. And then when I get off work, I'm going to be going to watch somebody who's getting on work, you know, playing a guitar or something. Yeah. And it was just like, man, like I live a similar lifestyle to those folks.
Yeah, it's being on the other side of the coin in a lot of ways.
And just, you know, putting your little performance on, and people are coming to watch it and get a little, you know, get their entertainment. And
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to be a part of that, to help to, be a part of the show, like Rupp said.
Entertaining is so weird. It's like you're creating this like I've been listening to Willie Nelson lately a little bit just because, man, like I don't know, I never gave him credit before. I guess I saw him live.
Listen to a lot of stuff either.
Yeah.
So everyone knows some, but
yeah, like everyone knows who Willie Nelson is.
Yeah.
But I saw him live a few years ago in Toledo, and like I was completely impressed. Like I was like, man, he doesn't even have a backup guitarist. He's just doing everything himself. He's like 86 or something.
Right,
like,
right. Still putting on a show.
Still sounds amazing. Like, and still like, and the way that he invented his type of show is genius in a lot of different ways. As far as just like the human condition, the way that you spin a show to people is very like you are like creating this kind of vortex of thing, and if you're doing it right, like people want it to keep going, and if you're on your last song, they are like disappointed and let down.
Oh yeah, right.
And so how do you accommodate a whole group of people? Because you're crowd control at that point.
Yeah.
You're like the crowd mentality is its own entity. So Willie Nelson ends his set with this like, why don't you stay and dance a little longer? And he just is like, why don't you stay in and dance a little longer? Whatever he's doing, like the subject matter is, hey, like we gotta go, but why don't you guys stay?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Do it without do it without me, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah. That's like reverse psychology in a way, like, but it's genius to me. Like I love that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, that is interesting. There's a lot of there's a lot of fixed things in baseball. When the game's over, it's over. But at the same time, theoretically, the game can go on forever. If you don't get that last out ain't made, it goes on until it happens.
Yeah.
Heck, most of the time the fans are done with it by then anyhow. So they're like, I gotta get the
hell
out of here.
Like seventh inning stretch. You're like, man, all right, here we go.
Like, better wrap this up, guys. Give me about.
Baseball,
12 more outs.
It has its own narrative structure in a way too. It has like its own story, based off of how many innings and all that. And
some of the games we play they're not 9 complete, just different rules. Sometimes you'll play 7. Some nights like double headers. I hate those nights, man, because like what you're saying, there's a structure and like a flow that the game moves to, and when you disrupt that, it throws everything off from the way that the fans are, the entertainment level, the way they engage, and even, and of course the way the game's played. Like it pushes the tempo. It makes those middle innings that are usually like just kind of always a lull in the game. It makes those innings so much more important. So there's never the natural flow to the game that I understand it as is disrupted, and I just bothers me. But
like a fundamental level, you do something for so long in a certain way, in a certain pattern, and then you just kind of like that's in your mind, that's how it is, that's what it is.
There is the clock, unfortunately, has become more and more of an important part of the game of baseball. Everybody wants to say the games are too long, so I've tried to figure out how to speed them up a little bit, keep them under 3 hours, so you time between innings and you time between pitches and such. And it's funny to me though, like I don't need that clock, man. Like it is ingrained in me. Like I know this pace at which it's gonna like everything's gonna happen at, and like I literally could like put my head down, turn around in a circle, and be ready. Like and pitch. Here we go, bam. So like you're saying, there's a pace, there's a flow, man, and you learn it. It gets ingrained in you.
What's interesting is like, do people invent their own rules for baseball at all ever? Like, is it like a type of game where you can like reinvent like aspects of it maybe? Like, or does anybody do that? Like,
so the rule book is it's always changing. People always agree season to season to play, by a certain certain things different. Like a time between an inning. Like, for instance, this year the one league I was working, they wanted to have 2.5 minutes between an inning. I think it was like 2.5, and everyone's like,
yeah.
Well, dude, 2.5 times 16 is like right there is like
right.
How many minutes you're worried about time or length of game? It's like, well, cut that. Anyhow, so yes, there's different things you can always modify, but the official rules of baseball, that little book, that doesn't change very often.
Okay.
Does not change very often. I think as somebody who's studied baseball history, that one of the defining things of baseball was defining those very rules that everybody was going to play by. Like it didn't matter where you went in the country, you were going to play by these rules, because at one point that isn't how it was. They played a game of baseball.
I was gonna say
different ways wherever you went.
Yeah,
and then one of the things that in the later part of the 19th century, the guys that were playing the game wanted to do was like, hey, let's refine this down to something that we're all doing the same way.
Is that like Abner Doubleday or someone?
Yeah, the legends.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a big part of refining it down into one thing. I think that was kind of a sign of the times a bit too. That was happening in different aspects of American culture. Things were being refined down to pure states.
Industrialization,
Bingo.
Like clocks in general,
Bingo.
Like
Bingo.
keeping people like regimented almost.
Yep. And people wanted to be able to compare yourself to the guy 2 towns over.
Yeah,
like, are we
true.
playing? He's a good ball player, but are we even playing the same game?
The world started shrinking.
No doubt.
At that point,
Telegraph and like you were saying, industrialization changed a lot of things. It went from small shops where you might make something. We're making the same product, but we're making it totally different.
Yeah.
Nah, industrialization totally changed that. Things were
Same
starting to be
with
made.
like languages, even like before industrialization happened, people were more pocketed in areas, and the music was. I mean, there was no recorded music. There's just like the guys in your town that play music, like the guys who played in this town before. Yeah,
and they played that music that same way, just like the guys played baseball this way here, and that's how we play the game. And if you want to come play, cool, but we're gonna play it how we do here in Galion. Whereas if I go up to Norwalk, you guys might have some different ground rules.
Yeah,
which is where that term comes from. So. And we still do it every night.
It's wild.
Before every baseball game.
Yeah.
You have a meeting at the plate, and you exchange lineup cards, and then you either first game of a series usually go over ground rules, and then if there's any questions later on, you maybe discuss it. But otherwise, like, we're set. This is how we're playing.
Yeah.
This is how the field plays here in Galion.
It's interesting. I've always thought about like video games compared to real life in a lot of ways. Like as far as how variable real life is, and like as a kid I used to think about this a lot, I guess.
Sure.
Because the world just didn't the world was always just like completely different one day to the next to me, so I couldn't like ever gauge things the way that I wanted to. Like I was more exacting as a kid, maybe, I don't know, but like I knew that as like if I went home and played this video game, the rules were going to be the same every single time.
Yeah.
And there was something like comforting about that to me, I guess.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Baseball, they refined those rules down so you could. I guess I don't know if comforting was the point as much as competition and comparison.
Right. Yeah.
But then there are those variables. You go to a different park. We're playing. That's in, that's out. Foul lines stay the same, but you know what I mean.
Big Green Monster in Boston,
there
right?
You go.
Like, or Wrigley Field's like Ivy,
Yep.
like
that's
a whole different type of ballpark.
Yeah, and I recently learned, and I don't know how true it is, but I had seen something that's while that holds very true for baseball in America.
Yeah.
Other parts of the world, like.
They have
more refined
stadiums.
Yeah, more refined boundaries.
Okay.
So.
Did baseball started in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, bat and ball games.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go.
like sticking hoops and like some
I
kind
think
of like
I think a kid's probably always hit a rock with a
Right.
stick for
Yeah.
last 5,000
Yeah.
years maybe. But
right. Yeah.
there were,
like-
of course, there were like origins, other games that kind of led to what baseball became. But yes,
Yeah.
baseball as we know it,
Yeah. Yeah.
mainly found in the Northeast, New York, Boston area.
Okay.
And then spread through the world, probably a lot sooner than people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people think that the wars in the 20th century spread baseball throughout the world, but really, they were actively trying to spread the game in the late part of the 19th century.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
throughout Asia and Australia, through Europe and stuff. There's some neat stories, some books that I've read that tells tales of that type of stuff. But
I always think of Japan, like at being really big into baseball too.
yeah, huge baseball territory, and people think, well, yeah, it must have happened
Yeah.
after the Second World War. It's like, well, no, it actually happened probably almost 50, 60, 100 years before that.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. That's wild.
I think who was it, like Admiral Perry or whoever it was, went to Japan and like opened the ports or whatever.
Wow.
That's when baseball was
Gotcha.
first introduced to that country.
Wow. Yeah.
And it picked up really quickly, and they've had a very interesting history of the game themselves. That's always captivated me.
Yeah. And you gotta think, even like the culture started spreading like wildfire like 800 years ago, like with like spice trades and things too.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, once we different means of transportation started to be developed.
It's like, you guys got fireworks, all right, we're gonna make guns. Like that was a turning point.
Yeah, that big one, that boom boom juice, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well, you think we nailed it, man? Think we're hitting it?
I mean, hell, I could do this.
I know, right? Like
I could talk baseball and different topics.
I'm pretty crazy interested in most things all the time.
It's fun, man. But yeah, if we want to wrap it up, I don't know how long we've been doing this.
I have no idea either.
Let's check a clock here.
Yeah, what we got? Hour and 14? Is that
Hour
right?
14
Is that it?
with an interruption. We could keep it rolling.
It might be. I don't know. Like sometimes this is the first time I've used this phone.
Okay.
My last phone used to like cut out at about an hour 23 and then start a new video.
Okay, so maybe it started another video.
Yeah, so we might be at 2:14.
It's
I don't
about 6:50. We probably started not shortly after 5.
know. I think we started around 5:30.
Okay. So yeah, that's probably about right. 1:14.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think if you want to keep adding a little bit.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
the
I'm gonna pour another cup of coffee.
a part that yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think part of the conversation we had up in Norwalk a couple weeks ago is I was kind of talking. We were talking about umpiring again.
Yeah.
And when I was describing to you how there's more and more of the talk of the robo-umps and the different trackman is what it's called,
yeah,
and how
yeah.
they've tried to limit the human influence in the game a little bit, which I understand. I get that. You want to get the calls right. Hell, man, I'll tell you
Yeah.
right now, every umpire steps out there wants to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to miss a call. He wants
Right.
to get all of his calls right every night. Like that's every single one of us. You go out there and they want to be. Umpires want to be as perfect as the players.
Yeah.
But people make mistakes. Hell, they keep track of errors, right?
Yeah.
And it sucks when an umpire's call affects the game, but
Oh yeah.
I think it's begun to, in a way, and I think you started seeing it in the NFL the most because they were the first. Maybe not the first, but they were the quickest to go to
Slow
replay
motion,
and all the
replays,
slow mo.
Yeah. But that was big for just television ratings,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, too.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like,
Yeah, I feel like it undermines the idea, like the old school idea of like sportsmanship a little bit. You know, where you accept the call on the field and you play on, and you got to play it from that point on, and
yeah.
maybe that's some umpire excuse making, or there's probably a better phrase for it, but
Yeah, well, and that you interject a lot of interpersonal feelings with umpires or referees, of like the personal opinions of those referees,
no doubt, and even officials you're susceptible to it as well.
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, you guys are huge fans too, you know?
Yeah, you fans, good about health. Umpires might be the biggest fans. We watch more, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was saying earlier, I could tell you more about the American Association in 2013 than I could MLB, you know. Like, hell, I knew what was going on. I knew the players and what they were going to do better as well as anyone.
Yeah, for sure. So there's going to be, like, a certain amount of bias there, I think, you know? Maybe. I mean, like, what do you think, you know? Like, there's probably, you want to, like... there's umpires that want to keep the sport as pure as possible too, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's part of the reason you're there, man.
Yeah.
Answer questions and fair foul, safe foul. Was it fair? Was it foul?
Yeah.
That's your job. Answer questions.
Yeah.
And most every umpire I've ever known was professional enough that they kept their biases out of the game. Do you get angry?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you can get angry. Somebody up in your ass over a call that you were dead right on.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't get mad because you knew you were damn right. You know. It's just like,
and
whatever,
you're just,
man.
Cool. And you're just screaming, and you're like,
you're mad. I'm not mad. You know. But I guess maybe it is the times when you aren't sure if you're right or not that bug you the most, you know?
Yeah,
those are the times when maybe you're like, man, I want to see that again. I got to see that again.
Yeah. And do you want that option, though? I mean, like, is that... Because if it's televised or if you have, like, a camera, like, that's square with, like, the plate or, you know...
Everybody wants to get their calls right.
Yeah.
And if there's some video that can help you get it right, heck, no problem. I don't mind going and talking to the other umpires on the field. Like, hey, man, you guys got anything different than what I saw?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they got something for you. And you're like,
yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, let's get this right. And you try to get it right. So there's no difference in there being a camera that can give you a little bit more info.
Yeah.
But there are things. There are just certain things. You know, strike zone probably being the biggest one, and that's the one that it'll probably be the last thing you see stand.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. When it comes to replay and such, but.
Yeah, because that's. We were talking about that before, as far as like where the strike zone even is kind of variable depending on.
It's changed in my career as an umpire. It changed and evolved.
Yeah.
You know, from when I got in and guys teaching me that it's more of a horizontal plane to now being asked to call more of a vertical strike zone. Like that's a definite reality. And how good are you, man?
And that's like,
can you make the adjustment?
And
we ask players to do it all the time as officials, like, hey, that's the strike zone. You got to adjust.
Yeah.
Well, can you adjust to calling the strike zone that the players, the teams are asking you to call now? That's a reality to it, man.
So I'm gonna change the subject slightly, but I've been thinking about like ground rules and the way that we interact as people. I mean, in society, there's certain ground rules, there's certain taboos, there's certain like even like social pressures, especially if you're like in a small town or something. In a city, there's different kinds of pressures. You're more anonymous and things like that. So we're entering like social media, like public platforms, right? This is completely brand new to the human experience. Still, even after 15 years of doing it, it's still like a completely brand new thing.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect. We don't know. We've never seen an entire lifetime of like a person go their whole lifetime with it at this point.
These guys on my baseball team now, man. Their whole life's been known as it being a part of it.
It will be their
entire life. Their entire life, and I can see, not in a negative way, just in a different way, like the way they interact with one another. I think, man, that's freaking hilarious. Sometimes I'm driving the van home, and they're all on their phones.
Yeah.
But they're all on their phones together. That's what I saw happen this year. Maybe I just realized it.
Yeah.
But they're all on the same platform. They're all interacting.
Yeah.
But they're not interacting like firsthand. It's through this device, which is like,
that's
well, shit.
so,
I guess it ain't.
It's weird, and it's like it's not weird because like it makes sense that they're interacting with each other.
Yeah.
You know, like they're all in the same spot. They're all talking about the same things. They're all like, you know,
they're laughing at the same joke.
Yes.
It's just
yes.
here rather than from the mouth. It's
Yeah.
funny, but
so you have it's like a different sensory apparatus or something, right? Like it's
a sensory apparatus. I like that. Okay, I like that, man. Right? Sensory apparatus.
Copyright Grandpa BB Incorporated.
2021.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's this extra thing happening now, you know, and my feeling is that we have to like start. We don't have to have ground rules, but like I think that it would help in ways if we started to like create social media spaces where like I could start my own space up, or you could start your own space up, and I can say what ground rules go, and I can say, you know, like, hey, this is my space, and not my space, but like, you know, this is my this is dating myself a little bit here.
Never even had one.
That was so long ago. But you have like a certain arena, okay? You have my arena, and what I say goes because I invented it. Like this is what I want to have happen, and I'm gonna run it like it's a game. I'm gonna run it like I'm the moderator, I'm the ref, or whatever you want to call it. And I want the topic to be this. I want everyone to like. I want to pick the players, you know, or I want like the players to like pick themselves to join in, you know, like as if like I'm jumping in on some arcade machine, you know, back in the 90s, and like I'm like, hey, player 4, that's me, you know, and like that's how many. I only want 4 players, or I want a dozen players, or you know, whatever it is, and we have a time limits. We have like, you know, certain.
We got a little bit of that right here.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, because I'm setting up the ground rules, and like they're extremely variable on the spot, you know.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, I'm uploading it to social media platform, you know, in its own way. People can comment on it, and that's true. That is very true. I never thought about it like that, but like I feel like this is the thing I've been trying to do for a while, you know. And I am gonna set up some podcasts that will have more than one people on at a time. I'm gonna have some like roundtable discussions and things like that. But I've always like in another space though, like if you had like I think about it in other terms though, as far as like what is. Like people are online on like Call of Duty all day, or you know, something on their like, you know, headphones talking to people, and like I think that some people socialize through that more than they even care about the game.
Yeah, I mean that is how they get their social interactions.
Yeah.
Especially last year, for no doubt, like that was all a lot of people had.
Definitely on like Twitch, or like people are just live streaming their like feed on their camera, like. I watch several people just play video games because, like, I don't know, I don't play video games anymore myself, you know?
Me either.
But I got, like, re-interested in it last year a little bit. Just, I built my own PC and things, you know?
Cool.
And so, like, I was like, I can play, I have a system to play a game on, like, for the first time in, like, you know, like, 20 years
20?
or so.
Okay.
Like, I'm like, God damn, this is, like... It brought back a lot of old memories, and I started exploring that world for a month or 2 or something like that, you know. But
my concern with some of that, man, is like people becoming too isolated, too within their own realm, their own like the world that they create and shape for themselves.
Yeah.
And you know you're not exposing yourself to other people's.
To real life, to reality.
To real life, to reality, to the
people
consequences sometimes that come with real
Yeah,
life and reality.
yeah.
I think that's definitely what people see now, man. There's no consequences to being a.
And it also isolates them, you know.
I mean,
Like,
but you are getting that interaction. So the idea that like you're
Yeah.
totally isolated. Yeah, that's not 100% true.
yeah,
But you've isolated yourself in such a tiny little pocket of
Yeah.
society that
Yes.
people do that anyhow. I guess
Yeah.
people do that, with the
a book,
bars they drink at,
a book club,
a book club, right?
you know, an open mic where people are going to play music, or like, you know, whatever their activity of choice is, where they can go like see people or socialize or whatever. Like it 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 adds something, and it also takes away something too, you know, because having this kind of like barrier between people allows you to maybe open up more in certain ways, and maybe like, but not so much in other ways, you know, like you don't know what their body language is, you don't know what their facial expressions are sometime, you know, unless you're like on a Zoom meeting,
Zoom
but even
or
that's really
some video.
limiting, you
Oh
know.
man, oof. I think just like everyone else, we got sick of those. I got sick of those.
Yeah, right.
Oof, but yeah, there's a lot of behavior that I don't know. Concerns maybe too strong of a word, but like even I hate seeing people like always on their own little their own, what do we call it, sensory device, choosing like
Sensory
this is
apparatus.
sensory apparatus, and then they choose that like these are the only things that I'm going to experience.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
dude, I'm still a big radio guy because like
yeah,
hell man, I don't pick the music.
yeah,
Maybe I'll do some channel surfing, but like
yeah.
sometimes you need to have like
It's nice.
somebody else to make another
Yeah.
somebody else to make a decision. What what you're gonna listen to, or
Yeah.
maybe I wouldn't have thought to listen to that, but hey man, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of the same 8,
Yeah.
9, 10, 12 songs that you listen to every day while you're working, like same playlist, same Netflix series, same.
Yeah, and the algorithm's like, oh, I know what you like, and I'm gonna play it. It's like, oh, well, I'm tired of hearing that now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of watching that. I'm tired
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
of. That's I get if there's anything I'm concerned about it's that people just getting so set
Yeah.
in this little world that they create for themselves, and it's just
People not taking agency for their own lives. You know, like, because if you rely on the algorithm to pick things for you, you're not really making your own choices, you know?
yeah, but that's almost the same as letting the radio pick them for you too,
But it is and it isn't, you know? Like, I know if I'm going to turn on the Oli station, I know basically what I'm going to hear, you know?
Yeah.
But if I'm letting YouTube just like pick out everything or Spotify or whoever like pick out what I want to hear, then like
And it is like shaped and directed
Yes.
to you as a customer.
based off of what my choices were up to a point, and then I just gave up making choices, you know.
That is a difference. Then you're right. That is a difference because once the algorithm is set
yeah
off of what you liked in
yeah
2012, now you're listening to the same shit as you did when you were 20. Like,
and it's also like, all right, so think about like the YouTube algorithms, okay? Like, I know that like if I am like actively engaged in learning something at a time, like I'll just deep dive different things randomly based off of like if I have a hunch, or if like I'm like, oh, I need to know more about this right now, and like my entire algorithm will switch to that, you know, like, and it'll be like, hey, here's all these videos about this, and I'm like, yup, like I know what I've been thinking about lately, you know. Like,
really been enjoying Parks and Rec.
am I
obviously.
still thinking about this right now, you know, like, and when I get tired of it, then I'm like, okay, well, I need to like the whole like kind of like stop learning, stop living. If I'm like if I get to the point where I'm tired of learning something, like I'm just like, okay, I'm shit full of this algorithm right now. This is like not where I want to be, and I need to like learn something else right now, because like I
flip the script, move
yeah
into something
yeah
new.
yeah and that's how I kind of like manipulate my own algorithm on YouTube mostly, you know. It's like it goes from one topic to the next pretty much every 3 months or so, you know. and I'll just be like stuck on a thing, and I'll forget about it kind of because I'm interested in it for that time, and I'm just like, oh damn, yeah, I do want to know about this, and then you hit about every angle that you can until the point where you're just exhausted, and then you're like, okay, I need to look at something else now.
Something new, man.
And that's where agency comes in, I think, is that like whole like I know how I want to learn, and I know what I'm questioning at the time too,
Yeah.
And I think
and then it moves on to something new, and your algorithm doesn't let that happen. It just keeps.
It does if you just force it to, though. It will.
If you make, like you're saying,
Yes.
if you take that personal agency to make that decision for you. If you don't change up the subject matter, it's gonna keep pumping that same 10, 12, 15
like,
videos at you.
He's been getting the clicks on this, man. He's been getting the clicks on this.
I know how to keep him here. I know how to keep him here.
Yes. And that's their whole goal.
Yeah.
And
that's weird shit.
It works if you are in control of it, and if you are like, if you are actively like, but how many people are doing that? I wonder. I don't know. Like, I don't know how many people are doing that. I haven't asked enough, Like, I haven't even really thought about it a lot until the last couple years, really, But it's just something that I found myself doing that, I mean, obviously no one in history has ever done this before,
Never had so much information.
We've never...
Such easy access.
Yeah, we've never had algorithms pick out things for us before, Like, people didn't know what an algorithm was 10 years ago.
Yeah, that word, shit.
Yeah.
Man. It took me 5 years to learn how to say it.
Yeah. Like, I know how to spell it because I think Al Gore ithm or whatever, like, in my head, like, that's
okay.
That's how I spell it, and like I know how to spell it now,
That's funny.
like just on the fly, because you use it so often, it's just become.
It's funny how often that word comes up in conversation.
Yeah, and it's really the last decade. It's really like maybe the decade before it was happening. But it's become like a staple, integral way that we interact with our media now,
The simulation has become a joke with some people that I hang with. The simulation, man, the simulation.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
And that's I think that like our operating system of our brain, like how we have Windows on our computers, is like we operate as a story, We think that our life is a story, Like
I'm following you. Following you.
That's how cultures are built. That's how religions are built. That's how companies are built. Like, I have this story that I'm gonna like build this automobile, or run a baseball team, or have this band, or even like I'm at an art gallery and this is my artwork. But really, it's like. The only reason people go to art galleries is for the other people there and to hear what the story is about what the, like, oh, this is really interesting. Why did he do this? It's like, oh, well, I had this whole vision of, like, I wanted to get people together and think about this thing and, or whatever it is.
So is that good, healthy mental practice or not?
I think that it's just how we collectively interact with each other, I've heard that humans are like a flexible collective. In that, like, bees are a collective, like hardline collective, where it's just like they are like a hive mind, what you would call, right? Mm-hmm. And like chimpanzees are more of like tribal, where they can like kind of trust each other, but they can only trust the people that are there around all the time.
Right.
Whereas like humans can trust people that we don't even know. Pick like a kiwi in Panama and, like send it here. And they're like, I was like, oh yeah, this is a kiwi. I'm going to eat it,
Yeah,
like I trust
South African orange yesterday.
I trust all of those people, that entire supply line to get to me, I don't know any of those people. No. Or we can have a whole stadium full of people and we're not just gouging each other's eyes out, we trust each other to be cool,
Is that trust, or is that like some sort of like a need for a product? Like I was saying, like I had a South African orange. There's plenty of places I can get an orange, but for whatever reason, those ones came from there. Yeah. Is that the only place that I could have gotten an orange from at that time?
Right.
So is it just based on that, like that need, that necessity that I have, that I guess I gotta trust this person, or is it? Yeah, I trust that this is gonna be clean and edible and it won't make me sick.
Well, where did that come from though? Like before large markets. I mean, like, it was always beneficial for us to be more, like, pocketed and to be like, okay, I'm going to be a baker or I'm going to be a blacksmith and I'm going to just, like, focus on this thing and it's going to help everyone because I'm practicing this art form now,
Yeah.
you know? Or, you know, like, when you kind of subjugate different things to different people, the whole group benefits because you have a more nuanced approach to something, you have a more professional attitude towards something, or
Product develops in a better way.
Yeah.
You start getting better stuff.
yeah, because this guy's been in this world for so long, he starts making connections and he's like, oh man, like this is a deep art form and like you can do this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and you'll still be learning something about it, you know? So there's that, like, kind of, like, bond that happens. Like, obviously, like, the town. Like, what is a town? We name this town, like, Galion, right? Like, this is the town that we're in right now. Like, this is the story of Galion. This is, like, this is the way, like, I'm this guy. I'm this guy over here, you know? Like, we all have kind of our parts in the story, and we all play them out in a certain way, in juxtaposition to each other. And that's how kind of like we interact with each other, is in that kind of like format, you know? It's like, well, at this point in my life I was really kind of going for this and now I'm like, and that's how it really is. But it's also like we make that like, it's like, oh well, I got to the point in my own life where I wanted to do this path and that felt right, and like back in my old, like foreshadowing in my old days, it was this, and like it really led to this later. And I mean, it is and it isn't, I guess, you know. You could argue that it is, but the way that we name things and the way that like we I don't know, like just mark time almost feels very much like a story, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, is that the only way people can?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
Is that the way that we can comprehend and understand the information that's being produced day by day, every day?
Or is that just the way that we want to? You know? Is that just a fun way to do it? You know? I could name this road number 672.
I think it's
you know,
19.
And we did start doing that, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
It probably used to be called something else at some point in history, I'm sure, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they were probably all trails that people used to just like, and there were a whole forest here, you know?
This one's pretty straight. I think it's probably grid.
Yeah.
Stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm trying.
True.
That idea of a story, though, and like that's how the humans understand and mark our time, and
Yeah, like kind of like, this is our culture, this is what we do, this is out of bounds. This is our people. If you go out of bounds, then you're not part of our people anymore. You know, that kind of like, it's almost tribalistic in its own way too. Culture is not beneficial in a lot of ways, and in some ways it is, but it's
given us everything we know and understand.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's stifled growth in certain ways.
Yes, no doubt.
It's definitely created outcasts that didn't need to be. You know, like we
a lot
like
of people become outcast by
their
a choice, though.
their own choices.
Actions, their choices. Yeah. They decide that like they don't want to be a part of a culture of a certain society. They form their own.
Yeah. And then there's some that just like say, hey, like I invented a telescope, man. Like the planets are out there, and
it's not what you think it is, bro.
The sun doesn't revolve around us, man. And it's like,
there's a lot of reasons those people are stifled.
Yeah, and it's like maybe that's true, but that person is not part of the community anymore. They're completely
literally excommunicated.
Yeah. Like,
see you later, pal.
Yeah.
If you don't shut up, we'll tie you to a stake.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. Like, or hey, I like punk rock music. It's like, oh, well, you're an outcast. Like, we don't like your kind in our community or whatever.
But there's
like,
a whole culture and community of people that do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, punk rock was almost invented to be against, to be the outcast.
Yeah, to be like in the face of the.
Yeah, counterculture. You know. I've heard a lot of talk about like counterculture now being monetized for, the screens or for,
Everything's
yeah,
yeah, everything's become a product. People are products.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Are we a
exactly.
customer or we're a product anymore?
Yeah, and it's like I'm voluntarily doing it, I guess, right? But it's also a lot of fun to just have a conversation, and I think that the only way out is through, maybe, if I'm volunteering to be a product, but I'm also like questioning what that is at the same time. Like, is this the best way? Are we just stories? Have we always just been products? In a sense, it's like if I'm just this guy,
Yeah, if I'm just a laborer,
yeah, yeah,
I offer my labor for in exchange for. Then yeah, you can't. I don't know if you're a product. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm losing the thread here.
I'm losing it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of questions. That's. I try to question everything that I can.
At some point, it's good to question anything.
Yeah, yeah,
So.
for sure.